created a second one. I'll check to see what it is.
Okay, we'll get started. I'm running a little bit behind, but what I want to talk about, a few more tools, and then we'll stop talking about tools. The teams are formed. There was 4 people that weren't assigned. I went ahead and assigned them. One of you is on a team that you didn't want to be on. You can talk to me afterwards. But in essence, there's 6 teams with 5 people on them. You should know who your team members are. Same with the online folks. I want to talk a little bit, I'm a little bit behind on getting you specifics on, the first 2 or 3 assignments. But I've got the contract documents up, and I'll turn those on while we're here, so you can have access to those and start looking at your projects. There's 2 projects, so 3 teams have the same project. They're both medical facilities. Wow, someone left that door unlocked again. Anyway, excuse me. Pulls my trigger. What was I talking about?
2 projects.
Thank you. 2 medical facilities. I haven't, I guarantee you one of them's got more square feet than the other. One may have some more stuff on it. The WBS may be bigger in one than the other. To me, they're equal projects. I don't care. It is what it is. They're pretty comparable. So please don't even worry about that. So let's look at the tools for a second, talk about tools just a few more times. One of the online students, Joseph Cart, if I go to references, tools, we found another one called Cloud Takeoff. Mr. Cart showed me this. It has a 14-day free trial. I have not experimented with it. Maybe Joseph can share through the wikis or something like that if he uses it. But it looks like a decent tool. Now, is this what you had a question on, Ross? This one here?
I was going to ask if any of them had a database that we could go on, but that RS name's online. Like what I'm looking for. I don't want to have to pay for it.
I think Win-S has got the RS. One of the ones they have in the lab got the RS dedicated equipment too. I want to say it's Win-S.
Now, a lot of these, including on-screen takeoff, say that it's estimating software. And I'm not saying that that's not a valid claim, but I'll bet you $20 that it's not going to do the type of estimate that I want from you. I'm going to want you to break it up by cost category. You're going to have to separate material, the tax, labor from the labor burden, equipment. Probably going to need to figure what equipment you own and what equipment you rent. All right, those are all categories that could add up to an item's total. And a lot of these so-called estimating packages don't have that level of detail. So that was one tool that might be worth checking out. I also put one up here. Has anyone ever seen Get a Quote? Once you create a work breakdown structure of the facility with your team, obviously, you've got to identify the breakdown. All right, so after we leave here, you'll be able to see the contract documents. I would dive into those, get a feeling for the project, look at the specs, and, think about how you're going to break that project down into its component parts. Then you've got to quantify those parts, right? And then after you quantify them with a quantity and a unit of measure, then you have to figure out what does it cost. So you have to apply a cost source, right, to the work breakdown structure item. So where are your cost sources going to come from? RS means is one cost source. It's not the only thing in the world. I wish if anyone comes across this, I would love to know who are the users of RS means in the real world. Is it contractors producing class 1 estimates like we're going to assume that we are? The answer is no. If you're a contractor using RS means, you probably need a lot more help than RS means. It's a reference. We used to use it to kind of, if we had a dispute on crew size or something like that, sometimes we would let RS means, like if the estimator, I estimated a project with a concrete crew of 6 people. The project begins and the superintendent puts 8 people or 10 people on that crew that I estimated with 6 people, right? So I'm going, hey, you better build it twice as fast because it only had a 6-man crew. And so then the argument is, what should the crew size really be? And sometimes we would use RS means as a kind of referee. Not that I agreed to it. Who else would use RS means? Yeah, designers use it a lot because they don't know anything about cost to begin with. So they have to have some kind of conceptual. They don't have their own cost history databases because they don't do the work. They don't capture the cost from the field, so they got to have something. But RS means is not by any means the only database out there. There's one called Richardson's that the oil and gas and engineering industry uses. I've got some that are European, and there's more. But what would other cost sources be besides, well, here's one. This one, I think it's associated with on-screen takeoff, because if I click here for the estimating software, it takes you to the on. But what you can do here is play with it. You can basically find some cost sources. I don't even know what I've clicked on here. You can choose by state. Well, put me in a loop. Do what?
Go back, press back. Click one of the.
Thank you. And so it's got some activity descriptions here, and it will give you a crew. In another place, apparently there's a crew called AF. I've seen some in here that are coded similarly to RS means, like crew B4, and you can look those up. You can see what labor classifications they are and what the hourly charge rate is for that classification. The problem with this, for the most part, is it's really not coded CSI, but it's a cost source. Looks like they have some kind of reference here, maybe Division 2, I don't know. But there's, what would other cost sources be besides something like this, or RS means, or Richardson's? Yeah, you could call up someone for a quote. What else? Do you have historical data? So, yeah, that's a cost source. I mean, that's the preferred one to have. But you don't have that, so you have to pretend that one of these is your historical costs. You can figure it yourself. You can just figure what would it take to build this item I'm looking at. How many people, how many machines, what should I charge hourly for those people and machines, and how much can they get done in an hour or per unit? You can figure it yourself. That's what real estimators, that's why they're worth a lot of money. If they're good, they don't need a database. They can figure it out themselves. What else? You can call an expert. I don't care if you call an expert. Say, what's it going to cost to build this elevator shaft? But you're going to have to keep track of where your cost sources come from. You're going to have to define what they are to me. I don't want to spend any time on it. Well, we'll talk about it in a minute. So anyway, those are a couple of other things that are in this tools folder, and then I typed into Google RS Means Online. It brought me to this link where you can do a 30-day free trial. And I think if I go to subscribe now, and then to this academic package, thanks to you. And if you add this, this shows, I can't highlight it because it's a little flash pop-up window, but it says $45. And those are for 12 months?
And the 30-day trial doesn't give you all the information.
30-day trial doesn't give you the whole shebang. So it's a teaser, not a fully functional product apparently. But I'm not saying anyone has to do that, but the other thing, do any of you have older RS Means references? I mean, what year is it? That doesn't even need factoring, if you ask me. But if you had one that's 2010, you can still use it. Just factor it to, today's cost index. It's got all the production rates and everything you need. And I don't know if any of you've done it. I mean, this is Plan Z, okay, but you can get RS Means books that are older for nothing. You can probably get them off Amazon for $5 all day long. But the problem with that, how many of you flip through the RS Means book trying to be productive in an estimating situation? It's not a lot of fun. So having a database of RS Means is the way to go, so you can look it up either by description or CSI division, something like that. Make your life a lot easier.
The school has the RS Means 2014, but I don't know the link from that.
The school has it where?
It's required for, I know I'm taking SMAT 2 right now, that's one of the required for.
Let me put this up here. All right, so that's up there. The Get a Quote's up there, if you can use it. Just remember, anytime that you use a cost source, keep track of its source. We'll talk about that a lot more later. Let's see. Also in this folder, let's see. I'll put a folder here called Contract Documents. We do it this way. So one's called a medical office building, one's called the Women's Health Institute. These are the teams they belong to, and I've got a little statement there. Do your own work. Okay, that's all I'll say. So I'll turn this on so you can get to it. Okay, so you know where to find that then? And each one is just 2 PDF files. They're large. One is the specs, one's the, actually one has a couple more files that are separated, but basically the plans and specs. Questions on any of that so far? The last option that I'll talk about tonight, I've started playing around, and I kind of need your feedback. You all have Office 365 accounts through the university now, is that correct?
Have to make that.
You have to pay for them?
Not that I know of.
No, not my knowledge. I just put a number put it in and when.
No, I think that well, let me see. All the faculty have Office 365 accounts. Do you all know what Office 365 is?
It's all on Facebook.
It's online and desktop, but they're trying to promote the use of using the cloud for Microsoft Office, right? And let me see real quick. Does anyone know if you all have accounts? No one knows.
I was talking to Mr. Sterling today. I think Office 365 is on the faculty account.
Say again?
I think Office 365 is only up for faculty.
All right.
That's all. That's what he's done. They were trying to figure out some stuff before they actually passed it down to the students.
Whenever you sent that link, that's still.
All right, so I sent Ross one too. I sent both of you a link to a spreadsheet, but do you have an Office 365 account?
A separate, not school related.
Okay. Same with you?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I mean, it's with my school email, but it's different.
If you logged in with your school email, then,
I had to create an account, but I use my school email as
Okay.
a link to it.
okay. Well, then I'll pass this up. But basically, what I was going to show, and I guess it's just not implemented this semester, see what version I have.
You have to share it with me. And then you can make it.
I've got Office Professional Plus 2013, and if I want to save this, I have 365 personal for home use also. But if I save to the OneDrive, I can log in with my USM email account. I can save stuff. It takes a spreadsheet to a web page, and you can collaborate on it. You can synchronize it. So that's a pretty handy tool if you want to collaborate on a team, especially if you're far apart, like some of the teams are with completely online students. So I'll skip that for now, but I think it's a lot more powerful than Google's stuff, especially in the area of Excel. So where are you going to go from here?
Where it's not reading speeds and no.
Well, one of the online students asked me a good question. Said, you've been talking about one of the first things you're going to require from the teams is an OBS, organizational breakdown structure. That's true. And a responsibility assignment matrix. That's what I've said, right? Let's talk about what a responsibility assignment matrix is again. It's the intersection of what? What?
Who's doing what on
Say again?
Organizational breakdown structure and work breakdown structure.
Okay, so do you have the work breakdown structure yet now? So therefore, can you give me a RAM? So you can't give me a project responsibility assignment matrix before you create a work breakdown structure for the project, right? And I thought, good point. But upon further reflection, the RAM that I was wanting was a little different. So there's more than one work breakdown structure. There's one for the project, and then what's the other one? So it'd be really, we can call it work breakdown structure 0, would be what activities are required to produce the deliverables in this course. Does that make sense? And if you create that in an OBS, then you can give me a RAM. I'm not talking about the project RAM, I'm talking about the class RAM. Does that make sense? So what would some of the activities be in work breakdown structure 0 if that's for the class work, and work breakdown structure 1 is for the project? What's that? That would be on there. Create work breakdown structure 1. Do the quantity takeoff, right?
Actually apply the cost of the quantity takeover.
Apply the cost to the WBS, which is estimated. What else?
Whatever is the profits.
Yeah, who?
Guess I'm being out there.
Yeah. And I don't know how you're going to do it on your team, but there's going to be, an estimate due, schedule, and then there's going to be written documents about the estimate and about the schedule, safety, and QA/QC. So there's like 6 deliverables. You've got 5 people on a team. Are you going to make one person responsible for each deliverable ultimately with tertiary responsibility, or it's kind of up to you? But that's what I mean, the RAM I want, and I've got to write it up and give it to you before I ask you to create it. But that's what I mean, all right? So I want to see that you've put some thought and some communication and collaboration within your team about who's going to be responsible, and that you have some idea. You use that as a tool to manage all the stuff you have to do. What do you think is going to be the hardest thing in here? And I don't know why it should be,
It shouldn't be, but I know.
but it is, because you're not used to reading plans a lot. All right, I get that. I mean, when I was your age, my first job, they gave me the drawings, and I was like, all right, that's very good. And, someone came and went, I was there. That's probably the hardest thing with doing the quantity takeoff, is just understanding what you're looking at. You're not used to looking at lots of different plans, and they all look different depending on who the architect or the engineer is. They all have their, they're taught in school to make our life hell, and they do quite a good job of it. But that was the old way. Now it's all going to be integrated project delivery, and you'll work fine with it. So I just wanted to clarify that. So what I would be doing until I get my act together is getting your mind around those projects, and then communicating with your team members. Just start some initial dialogue, and I'll get you some information so that you can create the work breakdown structure for the course. You could use the syllabus. I mean, the syllabus lists basically the deliverables I'm going to ask for. There's 2 other things you can look at, too. In the recommended practices, there's one called Basis of Estimate. I'm going to ask you for a document just like that. There's another one called Schedule Basis. And between those 2, that covers probably the 2 deliverables in here. One is the estimate, and the other is the work plan. But if you can look and see how those are structured, that'll give you plenty of ideas on how to break some of this work down. Basis of estimate and schedule basis. Let me pull them up. Or at least pull up the just got to download. Does anybody have that index handy? What is it? Share, man. Is my fly open? So there's one, 34R-05. Where's the other one? 38R-06, documenting the schedule basis. That's just if you want an idea of what's coming. Questions?
The RFI procedures.
To be determined. Probably going to have 2 or 3 group ones like the ABC did. So I could just deal with it all at one time. And a lot of them I won't know anyway. So if you look at those, I mean, I'll do the best I can, but I'm not going to spend hours researching something that I didn't design. So you'll have to make some assumptions, and that's what these 2 recommended practices are about, documenting your assumptions. Go, your question?
You got the RFI documents from the first competition?
Excuse me?
You got the RFI documents?
I might. Yep. Yeah, I mean, that'll help me. But I guarantee you there'll be some that aren't on there. Good questions. What else?
I'm curious, I did see how you had it all listed out, like on your syllabus. Are we gonna turn in like each section you need to grade and look at as we go, or is it gonna be at the end, just the whole thing?
There'll be some stuff that's incremental, but not much.
Okay. I was just curious whether that's how you do it or not.
I'm going to make it as easy on me as I can.
I'll look.
I don't want to do it at your expense, I'll be honest with you. That's not my intent at all. But when it comes down to you guys or me, I'm picking me. But that's what I want to use this for, is if you have questions about it, if you want me to look at it, that's what I want to use these sessions for. So if you're not doing the work as we go along, the sessions aren't going to mean anything to you. It's going to be interesting to see. I probably should call just to see where people are at for monitoring purposes. Because what happens if I look at somebody who hasn't made progress for 2, 3, 4 weeks, right? You know, and something's due a week later, and all of a sudden, boom, they've got it. What does that tell me? It doesn't mean that, but makes you wonder. So, all the deliverables I expect to be your own work, and I'll know. Not making any threats. We're all adults, seniors, but this is for you to create yourself and with your team. Other questions? That's all I have tonight. Thank you.